There are myriads of life forms living upon this planet that we call the Earth.
So, what is the oxygen balance? Or, to put it more concisely, the exchange of gases, balance of gases, whichever way you want to put it. Well, basically, it boils down in simple terms to the fact that plants give out oxygen, they take in carbon dioxide, whereas humans and animals breathe in oxygen and they exhale carbon dioxide. So, people and animals actually keep the trees and plants alive, and they in turn keep us alive by supplying us with oxygen. Now, that's a basic thing you've probably learned at school. But put it in more graphic terms, if we take two people here and put them with one oak tree, the balance is perfect because those two people breathe out enough carbon dioxide to keep that one full-grown oak tree alive. The oak tree then breathes out oxygen, which keeps the two people alive. So, in actual fact, forget the Earth's atmosphere. If you put a tree and two human beings under a glass dome, so that it was sealed from the Earth's atmosphere, in effect, they would keep each other alive. Obviously, the people would have to eat and everything, but in theory, the two people and the oak tree would be able to survive forever almost in this glass dome. Now, what if those people owned a small car? So here's the small car. We take the people away, the oak tree, the dome, and here's the small car, and it's running. Now, a car, when it's running, also, like the humans, breathe in oxygen. The only difference is that that small car, while it's running, doesn't take the oxygen from one oak tree. It takes the oxygen from 150 oak trees. So it would need 150 oak trees emitting oxygen to keep that car running. Now, the car itself does emit a small amount, and I mean small amount, of carbon dioxide, which in theory should keep those trees alive. The problem is that it also emits carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrous oxides, which in fact is lethal to the trees. So if you put that one small car, over here it is, and there's the 150 oak trees, if you put a glass dome over them, within a while the trees would all die. Now, just for the sake of this little illustration here, let us now put the car there. Now we put the two people with the car, and we put the glass dome over the two of them. Well, within 10 minutes, those two people, sadly, would be dead. Because not only the carbon monoxide, which would kill them, but on top of that, sulfur dioxide coming from that car would also burn into their lungs because it's sulfur, and nitrous oxides also burn into the lungs. So, to recap, here's the what was he. He's going to show you as we come along. Already, what was he? Right, here we go. Now, the oxygen is breathed by humans and animals. Okay? Carbon dioxide breathed by plants. Carbon monoxide is lethal to both. Sulfur dioxide is lethal to both. Nitrous oxide is lethal to both. So the trees and the humans would all die if they were all put in that glass dome. Thank you, what was he? But the thing is that if that people might say, and I've heard people say it actually, yeah, but you've got all these things, all this pollution going on in the earth. But if you were in a small enclosed place, like as I've just said, in that glass dome or garage or something like that, of course they're going to get poisoned. But this is the open air. Here we are, right? Well, let's take a look at the Earth. There it is, the Earth out in space there. And you see that little thin blue line, no, it's not the police, no, the thin blue line around the planet is our atmosphere. Okay, now you might say, yeah, well, that oxygen's just going to blow around. So we produce some, say, here in perhaps London, if you like, or New York or Paris, wherever you happen to live. And that will then drift around, and people say, well, it'll dissipate. No, it won't, actually. And I'll tell you why. Because the Earth is like that giant glass dome. The atmosphere has a roof to it. All that pollution that's going into the atmosphere isn't going anywhere. That pollution, all the different gases that are on the Earth, are bouncing around, building up in that whole thing, and eventually it will kill all forms of life on Earth. There's no doubt about that. It might take thousands of years, it might take hundreds of years. Nobody really knows. But we do know that the effects are happening already, because more people are getting asthma and they're getting other breathing difficulties, and animals are becoming extinct because their environment's changing, and the carbon dioxide, which an plethora of carbon dioxide out there because there's more of that being breathed, heats the atmosphere up and causes global warming. So there you are. I hope that this will give you a good illustration of what it's about. You know, I could never quite understand in all my years in horticulture why people have an obsession with killing plants. I mean, they use weed killers to kill weeds, as they call them, which are, after all, only natural plants. And they use hoes, or they use machinery to chop down trees and all sorts. And when you come to think of it, it's not very clever, because when you come to think of the fact that from these plants, the leaves emit oxygen, which we breathe in, we need these plants as much as those plants need us. And so in actual fact, when you kill a plant, you're actually cutting off your own oxygen supply. So what would you think of a doctor who purposely cut off the oxygen supply of a patient who seriously needed it? Not much, quite right, but that's exactly what we do when we kill plants and cut down trees. You see what I mean? And that just doesn't make sense. And yet, as I say, people spray weed killers about, admitted, you know, they don't use them as much as they did, but really, weed killers, pesticides, all these chemicals should not be used at all in the garden in any way, shape or form, because we're all entitled to live, and plants included. And as I say, and I've mentioned it before, plants were a lot longer than we were, and it was only then existing that they were using up all the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, turning it to oxygen, and we were actually developed so that we could give them back their carbon dioxide by breathing in the oxygen that they're breathing out. So we're there at their bequest. So it really doesn't make sense. So remember, try not to destroy plants, because they're our friends, not our enemies. Okay, so we get on with the video now. Cheers. So you see, when you cut down a tree, not only are you cutting off your own oxygen supply and that of other humans and animals, but once the tree has felled, you're actually releasing all the carbon dioxide that that tree had locked up inside it, releasing it back into the atmosphere, adding to global warming. And also you're evicting millions of insects, thousands of other creatures and birds and animals from their home. So there you go, you know, you just cut down one tree and you're cutting off the oxygen supply actually for two people if it's a large tree, depends on the size of the tree. But not only are you cutting off the oxygen supply, but once it's felled, all the carbon dioxide that that tree captured goes right back into the atmosphere, adding to global warming. And effectively, what with all the other pollutants that we're producing, you're replacing that oxygen you saw in that little cartoon with a canister of poisonous gases. So really, do you really want to do that? You know, do you really want the human race to have their oxygen supply cut off and then replaced with poisonous gases? What do you think, Bo? You see what I mean?
Yeah,
do you understand that?
Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I heard all that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a good idea, is it?
Of course, what you got to remember is that
Yeah.
tree that was in the little cartoon there
Yeah,
is the home, and in real life, of course,
Yeah.
is the home of hundreds of squirrels and tree-dwelling animals.
that's right.
Right.
Yeah,
Thousands of birds that build their nests and raise their families there.
yeah.
Right.
Well, wildlife, yeah.
And well, there is,
Yeah.
and millions upon millions of insects. So
Yeah.
in effect, when you chop a tree down, not only are we cutting our oxygen supply off,
Yeah,
giving us back carbon dioxide and noxious gases into the atmosphere,
yeah,
we're also evicting
yeah.
all those, you know. Suppose that
animals.
someone come along and said, oh, well, we're going to obliterate Stevenage with all the people still in their houses. There'd be outrage, wouldn't there?
It'd be illegal.
And yet we do it every time we chop a tree down.
Yeah,
Come to that, every time we pull the grass up and put this plastic stuff down.
oh, don't.
Right?
Yeah.
You're depriving the ants,
Yeah.
the earthworms and
Yeah.
millions and millions of insects
Yeah,
of natural habitat.
that's it.
And also, you're also stopping the drainage, because I don't know if you know this, but land like this with grass and other plants on it
Yeah,
is 70% more efficient
yeah.
than our roads that have got little drains and sewers.
Oh no, I'm aware of that. Yeah, basically the earth, the land, the grass,
Yeah.
it all soaks up the water.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
for all those people who've got their driveways, pavement everywhere, and concrete everywhere,
Yep.
obviously it can't soak it up because it's full of concrete and there's no earth like we've got here in the garden.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no greenery to soak it up.
That's right. And of course the insects
then-
can't burrow into it, and the earthworms
That's right.
can't.
That's
They
right.
can't
It
get through
has
concrete.
a domino knock-on effect with everything.
Yes, it does.
It's bound to. It's bound to.
It
It is
does.
having that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course the drainage systems get overflowed, and then
And it
it's
causes flooding.
then it's not good because effectively you've got sewage water coming out
Yeah.
from the drains going everywhere.
That's absolutely right.
So it's quite disgusting actually.
Yeah.
Not only is it is very unhealthy and disgusting really when you think about it. And the floods, you're me going off on one here.
No, carry on.
But it's
carry
true.
on.
Sadly, it's
Speak
true.
over.
It's like a knock-on effect. It's
Yeah.
like we've already had in England this year terrible floods up north, and
That's right.
sadly, not a lot has been done about it by the government. Sadly, they're
And
aware
at the
of
other
it.
spectrum, there's all
And
the fires, forest fires.
I was going to just come into that. Yeah. So there's the other side of the coin, where there's too much water going on in one area of the world, and then there's lack of water in the other area. There's droughts and fires, and it's crazy. It
Yeah,
really
it
is all over the
it
shop.
is.
It's
And
really,
you also remember that if you concrete over ground and
Yeah.
you're getting rid of the roots of trees,
Yeah.
there's nothing to hold the soil together. So
Yeah.
eventually, that land will become barren, like a desert, like the Sahara Desert. That once was
Yeah.
filled with corn. Do you know that? That was-
Yes, I'm aware of that. Yeah, that millions of years ago it actually was flourishing
Yes.
with greenery.
and it was overworked, and it
Yeah.
turned to dust.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's exactly what
You've
we're
got to
going to
get
do.
the balance right, feng shui,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it really is topsy-turvy at the moment.
That's right.
And not right.
And
Yin
I-
and yang is wrong.
And I hate to say it, but this coronavirus,
Yeah.
personally, I think that it's nature's way of getting rid of human beings because we're a cancer on the planet. We're
We're not
doing too
helping.
much
We're
harm.
certainly not helping.
And they've known about this for years and years and
Yes.
years. I've been working on it since I was 8.
I know, I know.
Right?
You
And they've
gotta
had
know.
all those years. I'm 83 now.
Yeah, yeah.
And they still haven't done anything.
You've got a lifetime experience of it all,
So
haven't you?
yes, I have.
Yes,
and
yes.
so
I know.
and
So-
all my work that I've done during that time.
yeah, yeah.
And now we
Well,
want a green roof.
the
Britain.
evidence is
So,
there, clear for everyone to see. The scientists want proof. They have the proof.
Yes.
Do something about it.
But people won't do anything.
It's all
Do you
to
know
do with
why?
it's all to do with money, ecology.
Exactly.
They put the ecology over the environment. It should be the other way
the
round.
economy over the ecology. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
It's all topsy turvy in it. You know,
Humans are selfish. That's the trouble. They think they've got to control
or
everything.
should I say, power hungry?
They control their kids. They control their animals. They don't love their
Too
animals.
power-hungry.
They have an animal to control it,
Politicians and all the rest of them.
and they try and control us.
Greed. Yeah.
So
yeah.
there you
try,
go.
Try.
Sorry about our rant.
Yeah, we're
but-
having a massive rant here.
Yeah. So let's go on to the rest
Go
of
into our
the video.
soapbox somewhere else, eh? Someone says.
Anyway, perhaps you'll remember all that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
There you go. Otherwise, we're,
Yeah.
we're doomed. You know.
Well,
so,
we try and do our bit anyway. We do
Yeah.
our recycling bit all
but
the
nature
time.
will take over once we all
Oh
kick
God,
the
yeah.
bucket, if you like. So it's our time. It was the dinosaurs' time to die out all that time ago because they served their
He's my little
purpose.
dinosaur.
I am a dinosaur. Yeah. so there you go.
Love you to bits.
I love you.
You take care, guys.
Yeah.
You know that.
Love and peace.
Yeah, love and peace. Gonna love and
green
peace.
all over the
Yes.
world. Right, so in this part of this garden earth, we're going to concentrate on flowers and different ways of fertilisation and distribution of plants. And as you see, plants come all in different colours and perfumes. Now this hibiscus is one we've got, which has got blue, red and white flowers, or if you like, red, white and blue, right, flowers. But the thing is that different coloured flowers attract different insects at different times, and we're going to explain that. And of course, inside is all the... So in actual fact, although we love to see plants, they're not there for our benefit at all with the flowers. They look beautiful to us, but they've actually got a very specific purpose. So you have a look into that flower there, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? But although we find it beautiful, there's a purpose behind it, and I'm going to tell you all about that. Okay, let's go on another adventure into plants. You remember in the Manib Desert in the last This Garden Earth series? Well, here we are back again, and you'll notice that now, look, they're beginning to come into flower. We'll follow them in a minute. So, as you can see, even the plants that grow in the most arid places actually flower, and Nikki was really surprised to see this living stone flower. She said it's like a stone having a flower sprouted out of it. And this is happening all over the desert with cacti and all sorts of other succulent plants. They have to flower to get fertilised, you see, and attract insects. Here we are in Peru. Mirabilis jalapa, known as the marvel of Peru. It opens up at 4 o'clock, and here are the flowers fully open, as you can see. Quite beautiful, aren't they? And very often these, of course, all appear to be yellow, but very often these flowers have splashes of different colours in them too. But as I say, it's known as the 4 o'clock plant because the flowers open about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and get fertilised by night-flying moths and other insects. Beautiful, isn't it? Baby lad.
You're right.
You're right. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I'd come and sit down. Oh,
Okay.
got your jacket on, a bit chilly.
It is rather chilly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was just taking in the energies in the garden.
Yeah, I know, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I had certain questions in my head. If I can word them in the right way.
Mm.
Well, before like the animals on this earth came along,
Yeah.
and plants got fertilised
Yes, they did.
and what have you. Well, how did that happen? How did the process happen?
I see, because, yeah, I've been saying about bees and butterflies, insects fertilising them and
Yeah.
animals distributing the seeds and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Well, it's quite simple actually. Yes, they did get, but they weren't flowers as such. They didn't have to have beautiful flowers
Yeah.
to attract, because there wasn't any other life to attract. Right?
Right.
So what they did was that trees, for example, I mean some of the early plants, like trees, especially fir trees and things like that, ferns,
Yeah.
they actually self-pollinated, you see.
Okay.
So they had male and female parts to them. but some of them had female plants and then male plants.
Okay.
And then what happened was that the elements fertilised them, as in trees and grasses.
Okay.
The wind blew the pollen to other
Clever.
plants of the same species and pollinated them that
Clever,
way.
isn't it?
And rain, and also, look, I'll tell you what, I'll show you a few examples, alright?
Yeah, it'd be lovely, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, cheers.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you, much
Now, when
appreciated.
it comes to ferns, there's a different reproduction system altogether. There's no flowers, but you see, if you look on the back of the leaf, you'll see these little spores, and they will release from there into the ground, grow mycelium, and start growing like roots into another fern. Now here we are with a tomato plant, and this is the flower of the tomato, and this is one flower that is not fertilised by insects at all, but by the rain. The raindrops come on it, so if you grow tomatoes, make sure you water the flowers because they're water fertilised. And of course, once that's done, then the fruits will come out, begin to develop. There's an example of a fruit which the plant actually produces specifically for us to eat. I mean, even us, we'll eat a tomato and we can't help but take all the pits. So the tomatoes we had ripened, didn't they?
Yeah.
Right, but they were so delicious we actually started on them.
Yeah.
Yum. So, yum, yeah. So if I sort of cut them into slices like this, you'll see that,
Nice.
well, I've already cut it actually.
Yeah, I know.
You'll see that
Very nice.
that's not very good, is it? Because it don't show the seeds.
Right.
You see that it's got
There we
little, that's it, like that. See that all the seeds
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
are in there,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You see, like that. See?
Yeah. Nice.
And of course all the seeds are inside the tomato,
Yeah.
which means, of course, what does it mean? It means that all those will go through us when we eat it
Of course, yeah.
and come out in the other end.
Yeah.
And woo, so inadvertently, because we're not going to take all the seeds out of a tomato, are we?
No.
That'd be silly, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I was even better there, you can see them better there.
Yeah.
Like that, you see.
Yeah.
And that shows you why, like, the sewage farms.
Let's not go there.
It's lovely to
Let's not go there. He went there.
I went there,
He
sorry.
went there.
But there you go, that's how plants distribute their seeds. One of the ways. But there you go, you see.
Yeah.
Well, here's a prime example of a plant producing its fruits, these berries, the red berries here, in time for winter, because the plant will know that birds will be looking for lots of food in the winter months when food can be scarce, earthworms and such like, the ground will be frozen. So the Cotoneaster horizontalis, which is what this is, a friend of mine used to call it a cotoneaster, not a Cotoneaster, but there you go, produces these red berries which are very scrumptious to a lot of birds, and that's why they're red, because they will show up in the snow, very conspicuous, and in so eating them the birds will then spread the seeds. Clever, eh? There you are, it's a bright fruit again for the winter. This is the yew tree, and they produce this bright red fruit. Now the interesting thing about this is that to us and to many species these berries are poisonous, but there are certain birds like bullfinch and quite a few little birds, they're immune to it and they will eat the berries because they're succulent, and of course it makes them go to the toilet quicker, so seeds get distributed quickly. There you go, that's how they distribute the seeds. Well, this is proves magic oak tree family, doesn't it? Look, there's acorns everywhere along this pathway we're going up. And where do the acorns come from? The oak tree. There it is. They keep falling down, don't they?
Yeah. I know.
They're falling down.
Yeah.
So even, see, oak trees very important back in medieval times.
Yeah.